Coming from a long journey last night, all the way from Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. My home territory, in Treaty 6 territory in Saskatchewan, is Sweetgrass First Nation. Nehiel Nia. I'm Plains Cree. And one of the things I've been asked to come and share today is some insights into the leader within. And a lot of these insights come from before my time. So today, I invite you to come in and with an open mind, because I'm going to share with you some things that come from before my time to the present and us going into the future. Now, before we get into this, I want to share something that's very personal to me. I often share a perspective that comes from two different worlds. And all of us in some form come from two different worlds. What I mean by this is your home life, your home fire, and then when you show up to work, you show up into the mainstream, whatever field, whatever position that you are serving the world right now. And this other world that we've been raised in, we learned about our values, our beliefs, our customs, how we show up to work, and so on. And this world that I'm going to speak to comes from before my time. It's been passed on to me, and I want to share them with you. Some of these things are called teachings. That's how it's translated into English from Cree to English. These teachings are what some would call lessons, takeaways, that helps anyone from all walks of life. Each and every one of you are chosen to be here. You are chosen to be put into your field. There's so many instances where people go through their lives and they go through challenges, hardships, obstacles. All of us in this room can agree on this. It's been challenging going through what we've been going through in the last 5 years in our home life and our work life. Now, my goal here today, ladies and gentlemen, is as we leave these doors and we break after this session, that you leave with a new sense of optimism, takeaways. And my goal here is to help plant seeds of hope for the future, plant seeds of ideas upon leadership, helping ourselves, growing into the next version of yourself. Anything that requires us to grow into the future is going to be tough. We look at all the leaders in this room, all the ones who have climbed step and step and step. It's been challenging with every step. Every time there's something good going to happen in our lives, it gets challenging right before that next step of growth. So I want to start off by the first thing that I was told as a child. I never understood this meaning. They used to say, "Moy gunta nuts, moy gunta." Today is not for nothing. Each and every one of you are chosen to be in your field. You were given gifts, talents, abilities. And you paired it with your chosen field to help serve people, to help people, to live longer, to see a new day, and so on. That's a very meaningful work of life that you are leading right now. I have a lot of respect for that. Because when I was a kid, I used to be raised around my kukam. That means my grandmother in my language. My kukam used to raise us on our res back home, our reservation. And when she would raise us, she used to take us to these cultural events, these cultural ceremonies back home. And the only time I was permitted to speak as a child was when we were at home. When we'd go to these cultural events, oftentimes it was the leaders who would speak to us. And these leaders, as they would speak to us, they were the only ones that would speak. One of the things you may encounter if you work with Indigenous peoples, whether it's staff or clientele, is you may notice that we may have a hard time maintaining eye contact. I want to share with you where this comes from. Because if we're going to help the future, we better understand where our clients come from. We have to take the time to understand the different habits that they bring to the world. So this is one habit I've always struggled with when I got into business, when I got into school, when I was trying to become a speaker, author, and so on. I had to get outside my comfort zone. I had to leave this world, come into the next, and I had to adapt really quickly. It was very challenging. Because in this world, I show respect by giving my ears to whoever's speaking. I bow my head in respect. I don't stare at people. And then I got forced into the mainstream to do the opposite. And I get into networking situations, and I'm trying to speak with people, and I'm having a hard time. My eyes twitching, trying to look off to the side, and so on. So if you see that after today's keynote, you'll know where that comes from. If I'm talking to you, I look down, I glance at you, I'm showing you respect. Back home, that's a very common misconception amongst our people. So I want to share with you, when I was in this environment here, my kukam used to take us to these places where we used to sit on the ground. And oftentimes when we'd sit on the ground, we were showing that we're no greater than any living thing here on earth. We're having humility. You have to be humble. You have to strip away all of your titles that you've earned in this other world. And when you come back to this world, you're lucky to be here. It's full of gratitude. You pray, you come together, you help each other. We're all one in unison, trying to live in harmony with each other. Then I come back to this world, and it's fight or flight. It's competitive. It's very challenging. So it's continuous, like there's a doorway here. You're going from one world to the next. I want you to think about your other world, your home fire, where you have your home life. You have your family, if you have a spouse, if you have children, grandkids, and so on. That's your home fire. Everything that happens here comes into the next world. Everything that happens here, your beliefs, your habits, how you do things, shows up into here. Here's what a lot of people don't realize. If things are struggling right here, you're going through pain, you're going through difficult times, and you come into the workplace, your clients are going to feel that. Your team members are going to feel that. You may not be as optimistic. So how do we go through life and keep progressing when so many things happen to us that we're not ready for? Sometimes we can control, minimize the outcomes of it, but sometimes it's beyond our control, just like 2020. And we had no choice but to adapt what was in front of us. Oftentimes we go through life, we go through problems, obstacles, and we get stuck in these problems. We get stuck in these challenges. We get stuck in a one moment that we don't know how we're going to get out of it. As a kid, my kukam used to say, you're chosen. Each and every one of you are chosen to be here at this specific time. In our culture, I want to share with you that there's no coincidences, all on purpose. Everything that's happened for a reason. You are where you are right now because it's a part of your lifeline. And I used to have questions as a kid. I used to ask my kukam, I used to like, what do you mean by this? What do you mean lifeline? What do you mean this road of life? And she used to visualize this. She'd be like, imagine you're standing right here. And right in front of you is this long road for as far as your eyes can see. This is a very powerful visual exercise if you do this at home. When you close your eyes, you look in front of you, and this long road as far as you can see. This road could be whatever you want to see. For me, it's a long gravel road because that was the roads I was raised in on the res. We never had paved roads. And these long road that as far as I could see, she used to say, that first day, that's when you're put here. That first day is when you were put here as a human being. And as a human being, you didn't know how to do anything. You had to be taught certain things, how to speak, how to learn to read, to write, your habits of the world. And then she used to say, that first little step, you're starting to crawl. You're stumbling, you're going off your course, you're coming back to your road, you're going into the ditch, you're going off course, you're coming back. Then you learn to stand up. And you stumble, you fall. You stand up again, you stumble, you fall. You start to learn how to take a few steps, you stumble, you fall. You start to learn how to walk, you stumble, you fall. You start to learn how to run, you stumble, you fall. And soon enough, you know how to walk, run through life. And then she would say, there's going to be times in your life, people will come into your life. People like coaches, mentors, who are going to give you blessings of encouragement to keep going, to akamemo, which means to persevere, regardless of how difficult life becomes. And she also said, you're going to have people that will come into your life that are meant to bring something out of you. And sometimes it's going to be very difficult when you meet these people. They're going to come in the form of sometimes very negative people. They could be very toxic. People who don't mean the best for you. It's people who don't know how to communicate, so they outpour a lot of anger, resentment, sadness onto you. Could be a client, could be a friend, could be a coworker. And these people that come into your life are meant to teach you something about yourself. But so often, when people come into our life or there's an obstacle in our life, all we do is we focus on the problem. And she said, imagine if more people were able to take a step back. It's almost like having an out-of-body experience. You take a step back and you see what's happening right here. And you ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me right now? And I used to be like, what do you mean? What is this trying to teach me right now? And she would say, everything that's bad, everything that's a challenge, there's always a blessing for its occurrence. But so few people go searching for it. So they don't ever find the blessing. They become the problem, they stay the problem, and they waste a lot of time in the problem. But if you're able to take a step back the next time a challenge, an obstacle comes into your path, your lifeline, and you ask yourself, what is this trying to teach me right now? You'll find it. You'll learn to embrace them as a positive occurrence in your life rather than a negative thing happening into your life.